You don't forget the sound of betrayal. It doesn't come like thunder or with warning bells, it comes sharp, sudden, like glass breaking inside your chest. That day had started like any other. I was in the kitchen, half listening to the radio, swirling a spoon through my coffee while the morning sunlight poured through the window. I had just come back from the store with fresh bread and almond milk, my wife Tessa's favorite. I was humming some old tune without even realizing it. Life was ordinary, simple. And then all at once, it wasn't. The front door opened, and I figured it was Tessa's younger sister, Alina. She had a habit of showing up unannounced, walking into our home like she paid rent. Most days, she barely looked me in the eye, which I didn't mind. I tolerated her for my wife's sake. But that morning, she came in different. Her eyes were wide, her hands restless. And behind her, Tessa followed, her face tight with tension like she had just been told someone had died. I turned slowly, coffee cup still warm in my hand, ready to say, "Good morning." But I never got the chance. Adrian got me pregnant. 7 words. Just like that. Alina's voice cracked when she said it, even adding a little tremble to her lip like she had rehearsed the line in front of a mirror. The air stopped moving. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Not because I was guilty, because my brain refused to register that this was real life. What kind of twisted joke was this? But Tessa didn't even look at me for an explanation. She didn't ask me a question. She didn't search my eyes for truth. She just reacted. Her palm cracked across my cheek so hard my head snapped sideways, the mug slipping from my hand and shattering across the kitchen tiles. I didn't even raise my hand to my face. The sting wasn't the worst part. The worst part was watching the woman I had built a life with, the one who whispered secrets to me in the dark, transform into a stranger with fire in her eyes and poison on her lips. "Tessa," I croaked, finally finding my voice. "What the hell are you?" But before I could finish, the door burst open again. Her brothers stormed in like they had been waiting outside for a signal. Jared and Marco, both built like linebackers, both with short tempers and long memories. They didn't ask a single question. They didn't give me a chance to speak. One grabbed my arm, the other my shoulder, and suddenly I was being dragged through my own house like a stray dog. "Get your hands off me!" I shouted, but it came out hoarse, desperate. They weren't listening. Jared's fist landed in my stomach before I even saw it coming, the air whooshing out of my lungs. Marco shoved me against the fence outside so hard that stars exploded behind my eyes. I could have fought back. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have yelled, thrown punches, screamed the truth. But I didn't. I was too shocked. Too broken. Neighbors peeked from their windows. Across the street, someone pulled out their phone and began filming. Jared spat at my feet. "You sick freak," he snarled. And just like that, I was branded. I looked past them, hoping for Tessa. Hoping she would stop this madness, defend me, at least ask for proof. But she stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her wedding ring still on her hand like it meant something. Her expression was already a eulogy, grief mixed with disgust, certainty mixed with hate. And in that moment, I knew. In her mind, I was already buried. I limped toward the street, barefoot, dazed, clutching my ribs like maybe I could hold myself together with just pressure. My phone buzzed again and again. Calls, texts, notifications piling up faster than I could breathe. People I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly had opinions. Friends, co-workers, even extended family. But I didn't pick up. What could I say? "Hey, funny thing, my wife's sister told the most ridiculous lie imaginable and apparently, without a shred of proof, I've already been convicted and sentenced?" By the time I stumbled back into the house, Tessa had locked herself in the bedroom. Alina was sitting on the couch, tears dripping down her cheeks in what looked like a performance for an invisible audience. I tried to open the bedroom door, but it was locked. "Tessa, open the door. Please, you know me. You know I'd never." "Don't you dare say another word." Her voice cracked through the wood, sharp as glass. "I can't even look at you right now." Something in me caved in at those words. She didn't even want to hear me out. Not even for a second. I turned away, grabbed a small duffel bag from the closet, and started stuffing clothes inside. My hands shook so badly that I dropped half of them on the floor. When I glanced up, Alina was watching me silently, her expression blank. And in that blankness, I saw something that made my stomach twist. Satisfaction. She wanted this. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't beg. What was the point? They didn't want truth, they wanted a villain. By nightfall, I was in a cheap motel off the highway. The carpet smelled like mildew, the bathroom mirror had a crack running down the middle, and the bed squeaked every time I breathed. I sat on the edge of it, staring at my phone. Dozens of messages. Hundreds of notifications. And then the one that gutted me completely. Notice of administrative leave. It was from my company. I read the email 3 times, my chest hollowing out with each pass. Given the serious allegations circulating online, the board has decided it is in the company's best interest to initiate a separation process pending a formal investigation. Allegations. Online. I scrambled to open social media, something I barely used. And there it was, threads and posts and whispers that spread faster than fire in dry grass. No names mentioned, but enough details that anyone who knew us could piece it together. Married man. Sister-in-law. Pregnancy. Betrayal. Every post was littered with judgment. Men like this are everywhere. Throw him in jail. Disgusting excuse for a husband. It was like watching my own funeral, except instead of flowers, people threw stones. By day 3, the whispers had become a roar. My landlord texted, "Hey man, sorry, but other tenants are uncomfortable. I'll need you to vacate by the end of the week." The bakery owner, who used to smile and slip me an extra croissant with my coffee, froze when she saw me. "We're closed today," she muttered, even though there were 3 customers behind me. One of them whispered, "That's him." By day 5, my phone was useless. Tessa had blocked me. Her mother, too. All our mutual friends, gone. People I once helped move houses, fix fences, build furniture, vanished. Like I was contagious. I sat on that motel bed, staring at the ceiling fan, listening to its broken rattle, and realized something brutal. It didn't matter that it was a lie. It didn't matter that I had never touched Alina, never even looked at her that way. The truth didn't matter. The story was easier to believe. And easier to hate. And so I made the only choice that was left to me. I opened my laptop, cleared my bank account, what little was left after being suspended, and bought a one-way ticket. No plan. No destination. Just away. By morning, Adrian was gone. The bus station smelled like burnt coffee and wet newspapers. I sat on a hard plastic bench with a single duffel bag at my feet, everything I hadn't left behind in my old life. 2 changes of clothes. A pair of boots. My old laptop. And a brown leather notebook filled with sketches, half-finished thoughts, and memories of a man who didn't exist anymore. The clerk at the ticket counter didn't even look twice when I said, "Anywhere but here." She smirked like she thought I was being dramatic. But I wasn't. By sunset, I was on a bus headed to a town I couldn't pronounce, surrounded by strangers who didn't know me, didn't care who I was, and most importantly, didn't know the lie that had gutted me. For hours, I stared out the window as the city gave way to fields, fields gave way to forests, and eventually, a coastline stretched endlessly under a gray sky. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't slept. My mind replayed everything like a broken tape. The slap, the accusation, the beating, the look in Tessa's eyes. When the driver finally called, "Last stop," I stumbled off into a town that looked forgotten by time. Wooden buildings with chipped paint. Boats tethered in the harbor like tired dogs. A single inn that doubled as a diner. It was perfect. I paid cash for a small room, no questions asked. The mattress was thin, the walls smelled of salt and mildew, but it was mine. For the first time in weeks, no one stared. No one whispered. No one judged. The next morning, I went looking for work. Anything. I didn't care what it was as long as it kept me moving. The innkeeper pointed me toward the docks, said an old man named Ben was always hiring hands. Ben didn't ask for my last name. Didn't ask for references. He just handed me gloves and pointed to a pile of rotting fishing nets. Start there. So I did. The work was brutal, hands raw, back screaming, skin stinking of salt and fish, but it was honest. And when I walked back to my room that night, collapsing onto the squeaky mattress, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Numbness. Not peace. Not healing. Just a dull quiet where the noise of accusation couldn't reach me. I decided I couldn't be Adrian anymore. That name carried too much ruin, too much weight. So when someone at the diner asked what to call me, I said the first thing that came to mind. Miles. And just like that, I became someone else. Days bled into weeks. Mornings started with coffee and the dock. Afternoons were sweat, salt, and silence. Nights were runs along the shoreline, lungs burning, legs shaking, a pain I chose instead of the one that had been forced on me. People in town started recognizing me. Not with whispers, not with pity, not with disgust. Just simple nods. Morning, Miles. You working the West Dock today? Coffee with sugar or cream? They didn't want my story. They just wanted my presence. And that was new. Still, sometimes, when I stood on the dock watching the horizon swallow the sun, my mind betrayed me. I saw Tessa's face. Not the one that smiled at me in our wedding photos. The other one. The one that looked at me like I was less than human. I wondered if she missed me. If she regretted it. And then I reminded myself it didn't matter anymore. Because I wasn't Adrian. I was Miles. My new life was built on routine. Wake before dawn. Run along the shoreline until my lungs burned. Work on the docks until my back ached. Eat cheap diner food. Sleep on a thin mattress that squeaked every time I turned. Repeat. At first, it was survival. A way to stay distracted. But slowly, almost without me noticing, survival turned into rhythm. And rhythm turned into something close to healing. Ben, the old dockmaster, didn't talk much, but sometimes he'd grunt in approval when I hauled nets faster than the younger guys. At the diner, the waitress, June, started remembering my order. Coffee, no sugar, 2 eggs, rye toast. She never asked questions about my past. She never looked at me like I was dangerous. She just treated me like a man who existed. And that was enough. I didn't tell anyone my real name. I didn't mention my old life. Miles became more than a disguise, it became armor. When I introduced myself, the lie rolled off my tongue easier each time. Miles was clean. Miles wasn't accused. Miles wasn't hated. Some nights, I'd walk the shoreline, the waves chewing at the sand, the moon laying a silver path across the water. In those moments, I almost believed I could start over. Almost. But the truth has a way of clinging to you, even when you try to bury it. I kept a notebook, scribbling thoughts that I couldn't say aloud. Single sentences. Fragmented memories. Sometimes just one word, written again and again until my pen tore through the page. Betrayal. Weeks turned into months. I fixed sheds for locals, helped repair boats, even tried my hand at coding when June asked if I could update her business website. I wasn't much of a tech guy, but I borrowed a laptop from the library, watched tutorials, and figured it out. Soon, other shopkeepers asked for help too. It was strange. In my old life, I'd been invisible in the worst way. Forgotten, abandoned the moment I was accused. But here, invisibility was a choice. No one cared where I came from, and I didn't volunteer the truth. I was Miles, the man with tools and time. And for the first time since my life imploded, invisibility felt like freedom. Still, the ghosts followed. Every slap of a wave against the dock reminded me of Tessa's hand across my face. Every glance in a mirror showed me a stranger's eyes, haunted, wary, never at rest. I wondered what she was doing. If she was still with Alina. If she had moved on. If she still thought of me as the monster her sister painted. Then I forced myself to push the thoughts away. Because Miles didn't have a wife. Miles didn't have a sister-in-law who lied. Miles had no past to haunt him. But deep down, I knew the truth couldn't stay buried forever. Lies rot from the inside out. And one day, the rot always surfaces. I just didn't know when. Or how hard it would hit when it finally did. By the time a year had passed, Miles felt almost real. I had a small savings account, a room that didn't feel temporary anymore, and people who greeted me in the streets like I belonged. But the past is a patient predator. It doesn't chase. It waits. One evening, I was repairing a shed roof for an older couple on the edge of town. As the sun dipped low, painting the horizon orange, the husband handed me a beer and said, "You're not from around here, are you?" The question was casual, harmless. But it froze me. My grip on the bottle tightened, my pulse quickened. For a second, I thought he knew. I forced a smile. Just passing through, and never left. He nodded, satisfied. But my heart didn't slow for hours. That night, lying on the thin mattress, I realized how fragile it all was. One slip, one wrong word, and the story could come rushing back. And this time, there would be nowhere to run. A week later, it almost happened. I was in the diner, sipping coffee, when a group of tourists came in. One of them, a young woman with auburn hair, stared at me too long. My chest clenched. I thought she recognized me, thought she was about to shout my old name across the room. But then she smiled politely and looked away. I laughed under my breath, but the sound was bitter. I was living like a fugitive from a crime I never committed. Some nights, I dreamt of Tessa. In some dreams, she believed me, reached for my hand, whispered apologies. In others, she was a stranger, spitting venom, her palm cracking across my face again and again until I woke up drenched in sweat. But the worst dream was the quiet one, the dream where she didn't exist at all. It was around that time that June, the waitress, asked me a simple question. "So, Miles, what did you do before the docks?" Her tone was light, curious, but my throat closed up. I could have lied. I could have said construction, IT, sales, anything. But I just said, "Doesn't matter now." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Fair enough." And just like that, the subject died. Still, it rattled me. Because one day, someone wouldn't let the question go. One day, the truth would crawl out of the hole I'd buried it in. And when it did, it wouldn't just ruin Miles. It would ruin whatever fragile life I'd managed to piece together. I didn't know that the day was closer than I thought. Much closer. Because somewhere, miles away, Tessa had started asking questions of her own. Back in the city, time hadn't been kind to Tessa. 4 months after I disappeared, she clung to Alina's story like a shield. It was easier to believe the lie than admit she might have destroyed her own marriage in a single moment. Her family backed her, her friends comforted her, and the internet strangers who praised her for leaving a monster gave her a false sense of certainty. But lies don't age well. Alina's story started to crack. Details didn't add up. One week she claimed she was 3 months pregnant, the next week 5. When pressed, she dodged questions. And when her so-called pregnancy ended in a vague miscarriage, Tessa noticed there were no medical records, no appointments, no proof at all. At first, Tessa buried her doubts. She told herself it was grief. She told herself Alina was just private. But late at night, when the house was too quiet, the questions grew louder. Why hadn't she asked me for the truth? Why had she believed so quickly? Why did she let her sister speak 7 words that detonated everything we built? The final crack came at a family gathering. A cousin made an offhand joke about Alina's miracle pregnancy. And Alina snapped. Too harsh, too defensive. The room fell silent. And in that silence, Tessa saw it, guilt written all over her sister's face. The realization hit like ice water. She had been wrong. She had chosen betrayal over trust. Violence over questions. And in the process, she hadn't just lost her husband, she had destroyed him. From that moment, Tessa's life shifted. She stopped answering Alina's calls. She confronted her parents, who tried to downplay it, but the seed was already planted. She needed to find me. At first, it was impossible. My trail was cold, my accounts closed, my phone dead. Months turned into years. But she didn't stop. She searched public records, followed rumors, even hired a private investigator once, only for him to come back empty-handed. Still, something in her refused to quit. And then one day, years later, a thread unraveled. A friend of a friend mentioned a man who looked like me in a small coastal town. A man who kept to himself, worked on the docks, went by a different name. Tessa's heart hammered as she wrote down the town's name. Because if it was me, if I was still alive, still out there, then maybe, just maybe, she could fix what she had broken. But she had no idea what kind of man I had become. And no idea how hard the truth would hit when she finally found me. It was late afternoon when the knock came. I was sitting at the small wooden table in my rented room, nursing a cup of coffee gone cold, scribbling half-thoughts into my notebook. The kind of quiet day I had grown used to. The kind of life that felt safe. Then came the pounding. Not the casual knock of a neighbor. This was urgent, desperate. I froze. My first thought was that it was the landlord, maybe upset about rent, or Ben from the docks needing help with something. But then I heard the voice. Adrian, please, I know you're in there. My chest went hollow. The cup slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. That voice. That name. I hadn't heard either in years. I stood, legs trembling, heart beating like it was trying to tear its way out of my chest. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it, some cruel trick of memory. But then, please. It's me. It's Tessa. Her voice cracked on my name, raw and pleading. I staggered toward the door but stopped short, staring at the wood as if it could answer the storm inside me. My hand hovered above the handle. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want to see her face, didn't want to drown in the flood of everything I had buried. Adrian! She cried again, banging harder. I know the truth now. I know it was a lie. Please, please, just let me talk to you. Her words sliced through me. Part of me wanted to rip the door open, to finally hear her say the words I dreamed of. But another part, the stronger part, wanted to stay silent, to let her voice fade into the wind like everything else I had left behind. I pressed my forehead against the door, eyes burning. Memories crashed into me all at once. The slap, the betrayal, the way she looked at me like I was less than human. And now she was here, begging. Adrian, she whispered, her voice breaking into sobs. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please. I don't care what it takes. I just need to see you. I squeezed my eyes shut. My hand clenched into a fist against the wood. Finally, I unlocked the door. The hinges creaked as it swung open, and there she was, older, thinner, but still undeniably Tessa. Her eyes were red, her hair tangled, her whole body trembling. When she saw me, she gasped like she'd been underwater for years and finally found air. I didn't say a word. I just stared at the woman who had once been my world, and who had destroyed me with 7 words she hadn't even spoken herself. And for the first time in years, I didn't know if I wanted to run to her, or slam the door shut forever. We stood in the doorway for a long, unbearable moment. Me, rigid as stone. Tessa, trembling like the world was collapsing beneath her feet. Finally, she spoke. Adrian. Her voice cracked on my name. I was wrong. About everything. Alina lied. She made it all up. There was never a pregnancy. There was never. Her words crumbled into sobs. I stayed silent. I wanted to hear it. All of it. Every ugly piece of truth she had ignored when it mattered. She admitted it. Tessa choked out. She said she did it because she hated us. Because she was jealous. Because she wanted to ruin what we had. And she covered her face with her hands. I believed her. I believed her without even looking at you. Without even asking. Her body shook with every word. Tears soaked through her fingers. I destroyed us, Adrian. I destroyed you. My jaw clenched. I had dreamed of this moment. 4 years, lying awake at night, I had imagined her confessing, apologizing, begging me to forgive her. But the reality didn't feel like victory. It felt hollow. Because nothing could undo the years I had lost. The scars. The humiliation. The way I had been buried alive under her silence. You didn't just destroy us, I finally said, my voice low, steady. You destroyed me. Her hands dropped, her eyes meeting mine, wide with pain. I know, she whispered. And I don't expect you to forgive me. She swallowed hard. I just need you to know I was wrong. That you weren't the monster I made you out to be. That I see you now. And I'll never forgive myself for not seeing you then. The words hung between us, heavy, suffocating. I looked for you, she continued. For years. I never stopped. Every dead end, every empty lead, I kept searching. Because I had to find you. Because I had to tell you the truth. Even if you hate me for the rest of your life, I needed to say it. Her knees buckled, and she sank to the floor right there in the doorway, sobbing into her hands. I stared down at her, the woman who had once been my safe place, now broken in the exact way she had left me. And for the first time since that day in the kitchen, I felt something unfamiliar. Not anger. Not grief. Not even love. Power. Because for once, she was the one begging. And I was the one who got to choose. I watched her sobbing on the floor, her shoulders shaking with each breath, and for a moment I felt like I was outside my own body. Like I was looking down at two strangers reenacting a tragedy. Part of me wanted to reach for her, to pull her into my arms and pretend none of it had ever happened. That we could rewind the years, erase the lies, and find our way back to what we once were. But another part, the louder part, remembered everything. The slap that split my world open. The fists of her brothers, raining down like judgment. The whispers online that buried me alive. The silence that followed, louder than any scream. How do you forgive someone who chose a lie over your soul? Tessa, I said quietly. She looked up, her eyes swollen, desperate. Do you have any idea what you did to me? Yes, she whispered. Every night I think about it. Every day I wish I could take it back. You didn't just doubt me. You condemned me. My voice cracked, years of rot spilling out. You didn't ask. You didn't fight for me. You threw me to the wolves, and you watched them tear me apart. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I was weak. I was stupid. I was wrong. I know nothing I say will ever make it right, but I need you to know, I see it now. I see you. I laughed bitterly, the sound jagged in my throat. You see me now? After I lost everything? After I stopped being Adrian and had to become someone else just to survive. She flinched. I never stopped loving you. The words cut deeper than the lie ever had. Because once, I would have died to hear them. Now, they felt empty. Too late. I leaned against the doorframe, staring down at her. Love isn't about saying it when it's easy. It's about believing it when it's hard. And when it got hard, you believed her. Not me. Her lips trembled. Please, Adrian. I don't care if you never forgive me. I just want a chance to make it right. To help you heal. To stand beside you, even if it takes the rest of my life. The room was silent except for her sobs. My pulse thundered in my ears. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to slam the door shut. I wanted to open my arms. Because the truth was brutal. I still loved her. But love wasn't enough anymore. Not after everything. I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of years press against my chest. And in that moment, I knew my choice would define the rest of my life. The silence stretched, thick and unbearable. Tessa knelt at my feet, eyes swollen, hands trembling, waiting for a verdict she already feared. I thought about the years I had lost. The nights in cheap motels, staring at cracked ceilings, wondering how a single lie could erase a lifetime of love. The mornings on the docks, my hands raw, my back aching, trying to rebuild a man from the ashes of who I used to be. The new name I had chosen just to survive. I thought about the bakery owner who once smiled and then turned her back. The landlord who shoved me out. The friends who vanished like smoke the second it got hard. And I thought about the woman in front of me. The one person who could have stopped it all with a single moment of trust, but didn't. I bent down slowly, lifting her chin so her tear-streaked face met mine. Her eyes searched me desperately, hoping for something, anything, that resembled forgiveness. I believe you're sorry, I said, my voice low but steady. I believe you regret it. But regret isn't love. Regret isn't trust. And regret doesn't erase the fact that you let me burn alone. Her breath hitched. A sob broke free from her chest. You want me to come back? I continued, my hand dropping away. Back to a life where one lie could undo everything again? Back to a family who beat me in the street? Back to a version of myself I had to bury just to survive. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only tears. I can't, I whispered. I can't be Adrian anymore. He died the day you chose her lie over my truth. And I've spent every day since trying to build someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who doesn't need you to believe him to know he's innocent. I stepped back. The distance between us felt heavier than any ocean. Her body sagged, her sobs echoing against the empty hallway. Please, don't leave me again. I swallowed hard. Every fiber of me wanted to give in, to pull her close, to pretend forgiveness was enough. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be. So I closed the door. Not with anger. Not with hatred. But with finality. On the other side, I heard her collapse into broken cries. And on mine, I stood in silence, breathing in the salt-stained air of the life I had built from ruins. For the first time, the weight lifted. Because the truth had finally come out. Because she finally saw me. And because I finally understood that survival wasn't about holding on to the past. It was about letting it go. I turned away from the door, from Tessa, from Adrian, and walked back into the life of Miles.